Yeah, I might play with this a little bit and to figure out what's going on with this tickety tockety because I don't believe it.
Speaking of,
Ooh, stream.
like, I've been trying to get you off of TikTok for like the longest. Like, we're moving from TikTok over to YouTube, and I've been trying to say, "Yo, Solid, come with me." But but every single time you about to make the move, I say something, you're like, "Ooh,
Yeah. Like,
we
what was that
back."
yesterday you said? Oh, you gave me an idea for a prompt, and I was like, "Oh, something about we were talking about why should I
Oh, the
just
follow the law.
yeah,
Yeah.
follow the law." Then I'm like, "Ooh, if I do a topic about, based on, like, why should I follow the law?" That gives me an opportunity to talk about a monopoly on violence, to talk about, like, how capitalism works, the maintenance of capitalism. I could even talk about, like, like, solidarity, which would be like a Durkheim type of, like, conversation. So I'm like, I'm just ideas out the wazoo, and I remember you being upset.
Yeah, I was like, "Here I am trying to get you off the app," and then I just handed you the needle. I'm like, "Hey,
Yeah,
try this."
yeah, delicious, delectable.
And so for me, like, it's been I don't know, like, for all of us, I think doing debates on TikTok has been a struggle because of how like, first, how bad the I don't even wanna call it opposition. Can we call it opposition? Is that what it
We
is?
can call it opposition because they are opposed to literally everything we do. So we can call it opposition. It's just
Yeah,
they're terrible. They suck. That's all.
um, there's a bunch of stuff, like, I don't really think a lot of it drives around the quality of the conversation based on the opposition. And my contention has always been that, like, there's not really learning happening. Not as much like, there's been learning, but not as much as, say, if we were just giving the information or speaking to better opposition, like opposition that knows what's going on.
Even then, like, you know what I've noticed watching, like, the professional debaters, like, that are opposition? They actually do the same exact shit. Like, the ones that everybody regards or hails as, like, being these really good debaters, um, especially on the right, they just they don't understand what they're doing. They, like, live in fallacy. Like, everything's a fallacy. And so I don't know if it gets better when we go other places. Maybe in the deconstruction community,
Mm,
you know what I mean? No?
no.
I don't think it gets better.
The I think the deconstruction community is actually worse because some people it's not dishonesty, some people write the rules as they go. And as you point out that the rules are inconsistent or don't align with reality, then they write new rules. And that's been happening for millennia. Like the literally writing the rules of reality as we go. And that's not good. But it is actually worse. But I think the difference with some opposition is like take some of like the worst high profile people that you know. They will say the loud part out loud or even the like we say the quiet part, but it's really the loud part. They'll say it. They'll be like, "I just don't like black people," or "I think women are inferior," or some stuff like that. They'll just say it. And then we can engage with that. Like some people shy away from it. They disguise it as a rage bait, but that's that's actual substance. Like you can directly address that, right?
Yeah, you could do something about that. You can have the conversation as to, like, a deeper level of, like, why, right? "Well, I
Mhm.
don't like you because, you're black," right? And then you go, "Okay, well, let's examine that. Like, why what is the function of that? Oh god. What's the functionality of not liking somebody because they're black? No, but, what is the function or what is the purpose of that? Like, socially, right? You can
Interesting.
have that conversation.
And I think that's a good segue into today's episode of the End of a Species podcast, which is and does have to do with what you call Old Faithful.
Yeah.
That's actually what I'm gonna title the episode. We'll call it Old Faithful.
Old Faithful. Okay.
Old Faithful. What is Old Faithful?
What is Old Faithful is we call this prompt Old Faithful because it's guaranteed to get people to come into the live. Admittedly, it's a little rage baity. The topic is Black people can't be racist.
Okay. You know what? I don't agree that it's rage baity.
Okay,
It's like
I'm
it's like
gonna
this.
hear you out, but then I'm gonna
It's like
I
this.
said that.
Bait is bait, right? Like worms, a little fly, whatever it is, that's bait.
Right.
A piece of cardboard is just a piece of cardboard, right?
Mhm.
Black people can't be racist would be like putting a piece of cardboard on the hook and having the fish go, "Ooh, I want that." They're not supposed to be going for the cardboard. That's not supposed to be making you mad. Like the idea of Black people can't be racist is not supposed to be making you mad.
Not supposed to piss you off.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it pisses off so many people, right?
Yeah. The flip. Look, if I
Anti-Black
was
is who it
if I
pisses
was
off.
to say all white people are racist, that's supposed to make you mad if you don't know about this stuff. But this one, I don't think that's supposed to really like you're not supposed to get mad at that.
No, do you remember when I was doing the prompt that said Black joy?
Yeah.
That's not supposed to piss you off. It's not. It's
Mhm.
not. The only type of person who that and this is what I'm saying. It's rage baiting because yes, I am of full cognizance that it pisses anti-Black people off, right? But if it is such bad rage bait, how come you keep taking it? Like, you dig what I'm saying? No pause. How come you keep seeing the piece of
Mhm.
chicken on the hook? You saw the last fish bite onto the hook and disappear. He's in the boat.
That is true.
And then you see it and you still see it, and you're just like, still mad, still
That
angry. I'm gonna
that is true because you could have a whole 45-minute conversation with another dude on the panel on mute, just chilling.
Mhm.
And he might show you that he's present because sometimes he'll interrupt and we'll be like, "We'll get to
We'll
you in a
be right with
second,
you.
bro." Yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
right. And he's listening to the whole conversation. And then dude A gone. He's done. Conversation over.
He's about
Dude
it.
B pops up. Well, okay, so you got the prompt. Black people can't be racist. What's your argument? What's the definition of racist? And like, and like
Pay
the
attention,
last dude,
meathead. You saying the last thing that he said. Like, what
we
are you
just went
doing?
through this. We
just-
literally, like, no lie. The first guy will say, "What's the definition?" And we might go through Webster's, Oxford, Cambridge, like all the different dictionaries. Then we'll transition into, you sometimes you outline you're gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this. You gonna say this, I'm gonna say this. But then you get to the end, and the crazy part really is when the second guy comes in and says, "What's the It's like we starting over again.
Why are why are we starting over again? The thing that blows my mind is how come you think it's gonna work this time?
Mhm.
It didn't work last time. Why do you think now all of a sudden it's gonna work? It simply doesn't work. Like, my views don't change because you asked me the definition or because there is a definition somewhere that agrees with you. It's the facts are the fact. Like, the way things work are the way things work.
Yeah.
And we're not here to talk about, first of all, like, we waste so much time talking about whether or not the dictionary is the arbiter of how racism works, right? Like, if that were the case, it would be the arbiter of it would control how every word it describes works. So
Lexicographers would be the most powerful people in society.
alive, bro. What is
Yeah.
what is this, Death Note? Right? You write it in the book. You know what? I think cheese is really hot women in my in my garage right now washing my car, and then it walks out to the garage with a pack of craft singles and just waits. You know what I'm saying? Like, the dictionary doesn't control how things work. The dictionary describes how people are using words. And so when you bring up the definition to me, like the definition is the end all be all, it's just worship of the written word. That's all it is. You're saying
Yeah.
the word, the writing is more powerful than the entity. The writing is more powerful than the phenomenon. The writing is more powerful than the people, right? Doing the thing that the writing describes. And so the part that fucks me up is if I ask for more substance, it simply won't. No, even more. If we do like a, I don't know what it's called, we do a comparison. I'll ask the question, you and me, we're sociologists. We're going to do a thought experiment and we're going to figure out why more people are getting married in Florida than there are people getting married in New York. And they're happy to engage, right? Because they're all incels, right? So they're like, well, we would have to look at their financial status, probably
Mhm.
their religious and their age, and they
Are
under
they high vibrational today?
are they what are they bringing to the table, right? But all of a sudden they become these fucking mini sociologists, and the dictionary goes poof.
Yeah,
It
gone.
disappears.
Mhm. What's the
There's
definition of marriage, actually?
nobody, not one person, not
Nope.
one person has said this. Not a single person has asked me what the definition of marriage is.
Now, me, I want to focus on a different style of opposition. I want to hone in on when we occasionally for this topic get a Philbro. And if you want to know what a Philbro is, just go to endofaspecies.com to the blog, and there's a whole blog post on that. I'll probably write more because they need to be studied. Philbros need to be studied. Well, what's going on? What it seems like we're having a eureka moment.
You did it again.
Oh no. Oh no. Ugh, you know what? The producers are gonna actually kill me. Like we're losing this we're losing this tug of war battle for Solid Soul, and we're actually pushing him in the wrong direction.
I just came up with okay. When they asked me the definition of racism, I'm just going to describe what getting married looks like. Then they're gonna say, no, that's the definition of marriage. Then I'm gonna say, no, it's not. No, it's not. Then we're gonna pull up the definition of marriage, and it's not gonna say the things, right? Hear me out.
Uh-huh.
Then I'm gonna be like, so wait a minute, you understood what I was talking about, even though it wasn't the definition.
Oh,
Okay.
Jesus. All right. You know what? Old Faithful is Old Faithful for a reason. It ain't going nowhere.
Well, this is the thing that I like, right? Is it does give us an opportunity to discuss once we get past that definition bullshit, right? It does give us the opportunity to discuss the form, right, or the operation of like or from a sociological perspective, how racism works,
Mhm.
right? It also gives me great pleasure to be able to make fun of Kadunkachuds, but
That is a bonus. Making fun of Kadunkachuds is a bonus. But okay, so every now and again we'll get somebody who says, "What's the contradiction?" Right? Like with black people can be racist. And all they're doing is engaging in some critique of a modal thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Already,
just
the
just real quick.
yeah,
What
yeah.
is modal? What does that mean?
Modal is just a realm of logic that deals with what's possible and what's impossible, what's
Oh,
necessary, that kind of stuff, right? And
okay.
so it doesn't really matter because you can have the conversation in regular people speak. You don't have to get into like super philosophy terms and just talk about what that is. The mistake that these people make is to think that we're talking about a realm of possibility within logic when we're not. And that doesn't mean that we're being illogical. That just means that what rules possible and impossible for a social construct, right, is sociology. So that's the realm that writes the rules. Are the rules hard and fast, like cemented into like a tablet? No, they're not chiseled into anything, but they require analysis for you to even infer them. So if I was to say it's possible for every Muslim tomorrow to just turn into Christians, I don't have to tell you some crazy sociological rule. Like I can do analysis and craft one, right? That you can do some dialectical materialism. You could do some historical materialism. You could do some sort of analysis on society and say, yeah, I don't think that that's possible. In the same way, when we say black people can't be racist, we're begging for that same analysis. And so what the Philbro does is try to take the conversation away from that area where we're talking about this. Like, hey, sociologically, if you do an analysis, let's talk about that. And they want to move it over here to where the bar is just, are unicorns possible?
Could there be some reality in which this thing
Mhm.
actually exists? And that is the exhausting part of it, right? Is because they're busy trying to defeat the sentence instead
Mhm.
of trying to prove me wrong.
I
You know?
heard you say that once in a live, and I never told you this, but you don't know how much you cooked with that because logical possibility is literally all about sentences. It's about syntax. So when somebody says, "What's the contradiction?" Right? If I say that, somebody will say like, "Oh, you have a square circle," you can get a contradiction out of that, right?
And that's a contradiction.
If I say, "Hey, there's a married bachelor," it's a married person who's not married. That's a contradiction. So that sentence, right? It's the sentence, right? That doesn't mean that we're saying anything about reality. That's
Right.
just saying that, hey, in logic, the sentence has to be like this in this type of logic.
Right.
And again, I don't want to go into the weeds. Like if you want to read up on the different types of logic, you can, because there's sentences where something like a contradiction can be okay, right? Irrelevant. The point is that if we're talking about chemistry, there is no contradiction in the sentence hydrogen is not flammable because there's nothing about the definition of hydrogen that says that it is flammable. That's an attribute that we look at. But you wouldn't do that in a chemistry conversation and just go, "Well, what's the contradiction with hydrogen not being flammable?" Like that would be nuts. But they do that in this conversation to obfuscate. You know what I mean?
I love that you described it that way, that time, because before you've said like, what is it that's, oh, I think you said hydrogen flammable. I'm not sure how you
No,
did it.
in the past I've said stuff about like whether or not carbon can bond to something or like
Yeah.
there's different chemistry things that are things that we know not from the definition of the element or the thing,
Mhm.
but things that we know because we went out into the world and we did it. We like, "Oh, look,
Mhm.
H2O is water, blah blah blah." Before we knew that, that wasn't part of the definition of water. So there wouldn't have been a contradiction to say that water was silicone.
Mm.
But that's not you're not doing chemistry at that point. You're just saying shit.
It's just saying stuff. Exactly. That's been the biggest plight for me is like trying to get motherfuckers to understand that like, hey, listen, if you want to, that's why I just give them the concession, right? And then, and not for nothing, man. This is textbook manipulative, okay, behavior. I am just being manipulative to the opposition because I'll say some shit like, okay, sure, man. Yes, I will concede that in a timeline, right, where unicorns fart ice cream, unicorns poop out ice cream, black
Which
people
isn't a
can be racist.
contradiction. There's no
It's
contradiction.
not a contradiction. It's not in a timeline, in a universe where the nutcracker actually runs off with the rat. You know what I'm saying? Black people could be racist.
Mhm.
I like, but I'm not concerned about that timeline. I'm not concerned about that universe. I'm concerned about what is tangible here, right? What at least linearly, chronologically, okay? At least, right? I'm concerned with how the past conditions affect the material conditions today, and that's it.
Yeah.
That right? If you want to talk about the future, okay, we'll talk about the future in another conversation, not this one. You know what I mean?
But you know what? I would suspect that even in there, like if you're using any kind of actual reasoning, you're going to end up in the same place, like even in future. Because I'm going to say, hey, if you're just doing some sort of induction, like you're just taking the past and saying, hey, we could say when Europeans reached different shores, were they immediately enslaved and slaughtered? No, no. Oh, okay. So we can make that inference, right? Our our sister Adorna, if y'all know, shout out Adorna Lukes.
Shout out Adorno.
She'll say that there's, I forget which dictionary it is, but it's starting to define the N word as something that can be used against anybody, right? Just an ignorant person, something like that, right? And so there is a state in the future where that could be a thing. Like you could just see every dictionary adopt that paradigm. But that's a good example of something that's not going to change the rules on the ground, right? There's a big difference between the reclaimed term that you and I use when we like when we talk to each other, and some dude from Alabama that just jumps on the live and hits us with the hard ER 10 times. It's not the same thing, right? Like, so relying on the definition there is really useless because you're ignoring reality. Like, you're ignoring it would be like if I was to say, hey, water's water. It doesn't matter if it's room temperature or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. If I throw it on you, I just threw water on you, right? Like no big deal. It's water. You're ignoring all the extra context. And I also like how like you have a thing that you say about slapping somebody's hand. The context is important, right?
Yeah, the context matters. I think I'm writing a script right now that talks about stigmatization, outgroup derogation. There's one more thing that I can't think of right now, but I'm talking about the ways that in groups see themselves as superior and out and the way they demonize or figure out how to dislike out groups, right? The us versus them sort of phenomenon,
Yeah.
right? And the reason why I'm writing the script is to talk about all of the ways that prison labor has been justified, right? All the ways that society has been convinced to be okay with prison labor, right?
Okay.
Um, it's all part of the cultural hegemony. And the context here is that we do have a substantial amount of minstrelsy, news cycles, government led propaganda. We've got mountains and mountains and mountains of examples of the dehumanization of non-white people, right? The vilification, the derogation of non-white people. We've got mountains of that. The way you have to ignore all of that in order to say, well, what's the definition? If the definition says it, then it's the thing, and it's just as bad. Have you seen people go? Black people are the most racist. Have you, bro?
Yeah. Like
There's no way, bro.
what are we doing?
There's no way, bro.
No.
We just had a Charlottesville, and a president excuse Charlottesville.
Yeah. And then people excuse the excusing
Yeah,
in two different ways. That's not what he really meant, and he's right.
right. And they can't even get on the same page. Why?
Yeah.
Because they all like the white supremacists.
Yeah. Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so when we abandon, like, there's just has you have to abandon a lot of reasoning here. you have to abandon a lot of you have to literally bury your head in the sand. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I want to talk about dodges, and I'm
Okay.
I'm doing this to be petty. I'm doing it to be petty
Like
because
a charger?
no, I'm doing it to be like
No, I'm saying like a Dodge Charger?
uh, more like a LA Dodger, like a one of them movies with Ben Stiller in them, like, straight
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a dodge is another Philbro term. A Philbro will ask you a question. And like if you ask me a question like, how many vehicles have you owned?
Right.
And I
Let's
want to
let's
clarify.
practice. Let's practice.
Yeah.
How many vehicles have you owned?
Now, here's do you mean in my lifetime? That's a clarifying question.
That's a
Right.
clarifying question.
The Philbro will say, well, that's dodge number one because you didn't answer my question. A clarifying question is okay.
Okay.
While now, ask me, do I think driving is okay?
Do you think driving is okay?
Well, people drive all the time. That's not an answer,
It's
and
not.
it's not a clarification.
It's
That's
not.
sometimes what the Philbro will do
Yeah.
and not think they're dodging the question, right?
Right. Right.
So I want to talk about the five. This is today's top five. The top five ways that people dodge super simple questions.
For sure.
All right. The number five I'm gonna say is hitting you with some invisible rule book, right? And that's where the definitions come in. That's where you'll ask somebody a yes or no question that's perfectly reasonable. It's just and they'll say, you're putting me in a box. Like that means anything, right? Or what's worse is like, for example, you might ask somebody that same question: is driving okay? Well, people drive all the time. And you go, you're not answering the question. Like, you just want me to answer how you want to answer.
That one pisses me off.
Hmm.
I gave you an answer. It's just not the kind of answer you like. Well, no, you gave a non-answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna like the actual answer that you give if you give one. But what you did was answer some other question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be a pivot adjacent to the black people can't be racist. We've been having talks about what races have been enslaved. And that's another technical conversation, right? Like, so our our sibling, Black Swan, our sister, has been running this conversation. And, people will, did you know slavery comes from the word Slav? Blah, 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 right? And they do the same thing over. So that's what's the did you know slavery comes from the word Slav is their version of what's the definition of like this comes from this. What's the definition of
Was a
slavery?
definition of slavery. It's a Slav. It's like nobody was making the claim that slavery doesn't come from the word Slav. Nobody's making the claim that black people were the only people who were slaves.
Hmm.
That's not the claim.
But
It makes me mad.
number four would be like the
Oh wait,
defin. Yeah,
the claim is white people were never slaves, right?
it is.
Okay, all right, bet.
But insofar as they weren't racialized as white, like whoever you would
Time when they
typically,
were enslaved.
they're white. No, they weren't. That's not the racial cat. Anyway.
You would see them as white now,
Hmm.
but they weren't. They whiteness didn't exist then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And so like that would be the number four is the pivot to something else. Like somebody will be asked to show how they were racialized as white, and they'll hit you with, I call it the all Slavs matter defense. Um, like we didn't ask you that. We didn't. So somebody be like, hey, were Slavs racialized as white in Scandinavia? But they were slaves too. That's a pivot. That's something else, right?
right.
Number two would be the modal shift, and that's what we've been talking about. And that's where like is it possible for a black person to be racist? Well, is there a contradiction? Like, I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you about no contradictions. I didn't ask you about none of that. I asked you to lay out what, and we're talking about sociology. Like, I had a conversation yesterday, and dude was like, why should I adopt a sociological definition? I said, because you're talking about sociology. That's circular. I'm like, yeah, but you're in here already. You're in the room already. So it's
Yeah.
not, right?
Right.
In the same way that, like, if you walked in front of a judge and you go, why should I adopt the legal definition? Well, because you're in a law, you're in a court of
Legal
law.
process. Yeah.
You're doing law stuff. That you're not going to tell the judge, well, that's circular. No, like that's where you're at. That's
Right.
the domain you're in happens to be that one. And if the prescriptive definition of theft is theft or whatever it is, that's what you're rolling with, right?
Okay.
So like the modal shift in saying, well, I want to work in this, or actually, I'll just call it the domain shift because
Mhm.
really we're talking about one domain and you want to switch it to some other shit. That's not what we're talking about, right?
Right.
Like, what do you mean psychologically? No, we're not talking about psychology. We're talking about sociology. But why aren't we talking about archaeology? Well, because we're talking about sociology, dude.
We're
Like,
talking about sociology.
what do you want?
Why aren't we talking about chemistry?
Yeah. Then there's the moving target.
Mm.
The moving target with racism is a good one because we've all seen the chart, like the Venn diagram joint.
Oh, you're talking about the interpersonal, the structural,
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so the moving target is, oh, you're talking like before you even get anything out your mouth, you're talking about systematically. I'm talking about individual. And then when you go towards individual and you say, hey, the individual relies on the system, like I like when you ask, how did they know they were black?
Yeah. How did they even find out they were black in the first place?
Like, you know how many people in the past week have realized that white people don't have white skin? Like, your hat is white.
My hat is white.
White people's skin ain't white.
They know that. They've always known that. And this is the thing that bugs the shit out of me. They're not bringing that up because they think you know what I mean? Because they literally thought people's skin was right. They're bringing that up because they think it's a gotcha. And I don't know what gotcha they think it is because everybody knows that. Listen, first of all, there's the presupposition here that blackness and whiteness, that race is about literally skin color, right? There's that presupposition.
Yeah.
We're leaving out all the rest of the phenotypical markers, leaving all the hair color, the hair texture, the shape of the eyes, the shape of the nose, we're leaving out all these other phenotypical markers. And we're just saying they think it's just based on skin color. The step 2 is point out that race, the names of the races don't match the actual skin color of the person.
Yeah.
So, I'm pink or I'm peach colored. You're not black, you're brown. Step 3, they think they've invalidated race as a whole. This is an overcomplicated thought terminating cliche. It's overcomplicated. There's just all these steps to it to them then thinking that they somehow have invalidated race. So then if race doesn't exist, then we can shut down the conversation about racism altogether, right? No, because these are just names that we gave to things, right? A Maserati is neither a Maz nor is it a Rottie. That's the name we gave to the car.
That's true. And then the number one, numero uno, is just answering a different question. That's the number one thing. Just answering a different question. There's this bit I do when I ask a question and somebody answers something else. I'll make up a character and I'll say, hey, there's this dude in Tennessee that asked you question X. That's the question you answered. But he ain't here. He don't even know that you answered his question. Like so I'll be like, hey, do I have a choice in being black? Like, can I identify as white if I wanted to, if I woke up in the morning and engage in society that way? And somebody will be like, race is just a social construct. I'm like, hey, so like the dude in Tennessee, he asked, is race a social construct? And you answered his question. Like you just affirmed his. That's not what I asked you. I done asked you if I can, how do I engage with race? That's a different question.
Yeah, so just answer that question.
Yeah, just go ahead and answer.
You know why I love that bit about like you're answering a question that some guy in Kentucky asked. You know why I love that?
Why?
Because it's possible. It's within the realm of possibility that a guy in Kentucky actually did answer that question, right? But you're not, you're not answering the question that was asked here and now.
Well, yeah, some dude in Kentucky waking up, doo, 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 he accidentally put CNN on, and they saw talking about, oh, racism in the U.S. And he goes, I wonder if race is a social construct. Here come Kadunka Chud on your live. Talking about, did you know race was a social construct? We're like, oh, you answered Jim Bob's question. Why you answering Jim Bob's question and Jim Bob ain't here? Go find Jim Bob. Here we asked some whole different shit. Like you might want to have a conversation with that dude. He just discovered CNN for the first time after years of Fox News, and then realized they're saying the same shit. They doing the same thing over there.
They're doing the same thing. They're doing the same exact thing. Kadunka Chuds are, and I know we get frustrated because it seems to be an endless drove of people who don't understand the shit and are trying the same things over and over again, right? So you can have a person that you've never met before. We have our Urkels, right? We got our Mancinis, we got our Marshalls, we got, right? We have Urkels exist. But then you'll get a rando that you've never met before, like you've never met them. And the first thing out of their mouths will be, what's the definition? You know what I mean? And then you'll say, can I be white if I want to? And they'll go, oh, you're a race is a social construct. And it's like, how do you know to do the same thing that the last motherfucker did? Like, you've never even met that person. How do you know to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of times, and for some of these, we've actually traced like the source text. And oftentimes it's something on social media, either Facebook or Twitter or whatever, where somebody wrote some shit. And it's stupid shit. Like nobody's challenging them on it, but they wrote some stuff. And even if they did, because sometimes you go into these posts and you look in the comments and there's like 10 people in there going, this is the dumbest shit I ever heard. But that person will have like 1 million views, 500,000 likes, whatever it is. And they're reading that and they're like, aha, I got it. Quick pause. If you're getting value out of this, the best way to support the show is through the End of a Species support page. That's what keeps the streams consistent, the research tight, and the production getting better over time. The link is in the description. Jump in if you want to help build this thing. I have the thing that is like the silver bullet for this conversation. I ain't have to read to do it. I ain't have to do nothing except for just engage and just repeat the stuff. If you get a few questions in, the whole thing falls apart, but then comes the stiff arm. Like, I don't want questions. I don't want none of that. All I want is to keep repeating the mantra, right? I want to be like the pull doll and just keep saying the same thing over and over again. And that comes in the form of like, when you get too far in the conversation, they go, what's the definition of they just started the conversation. Like, hey.
So it's not just Old Faithful for us. It's also Old Faithful for them.
Absolutely. Because now, look, for the audience, now that I've said it, you can't unsee it. And I try to point it out when I'm on a live. But you'll see, because this happens out in public too, like when people are having these actual debates, and if you watch things like Surrounded or you watch Twitter, somebody will get to a point and they'll say the thing again. They'll start it over when they feel it's like a knee jerk, like, but I think they can be, that kind of thing. It's pretty bad and it's pretty stark, but like it is what it is, and they all have that same habit, which is why we see these patterns form.
And that's it. And I think that speaks to a greater social conditioning as well, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, yeah, you could trace it back to the source text. American culture might be the source text for a lot of shit, man.
Mhm.
So, um, do you think this is my question for you? Do you think people do fallacies on accident, or do you think they like learn fallacies and then try to employ those fallacies?
I think that fallacies are the result of bad habits, and the most common bad habit is starting with the conclusion. That's the most common bad habit. If I hear somebody have a tremendously ridiculous take, right?
Mhm, mhm.
I always, even for the most ridiculous take, as long as it doesn't violate one of the three rules, and the rules are on the site,
What
uh,
site?
endofaspecies.com, of course.
Oh,
Um, but as long as it doesn't violate one of those, right, I will give them a chance to hear them out, right? Because I'm not leading with the idea of course this person is wrong.
mm,
I'm
mm,
leading with the idea of, well, according to the stuff that I know, this isn't correct, but I don't know everything. So there
right,
may be some information I have. Now, it's true that 9,999 times out of 10,000, there's some stupid shit gonna come out. Like somebody gonna say some foolishness.
right,
But I'm still gonna give it that shot. Like,
right.
give it a chance.
Give you the opportunity to show me the logic behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And in the same way as like if somebody brings a source to me and they're like, this shows that my position is correct, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna go through it. And then the minute that I find some stuff that is like, hey, this says the opposite of what you said, then my antenna don't stay up on default. My my antenna comes up when you give me a reason for them to be up, which
right,
is for me to say, I just saw like the first paragraph. Sometimes the first sentence says the opposite of what you're saying.
right.
What happens with the people who are fallacious is that they start with, of course you're wrong.
Yeah,
There's no way you could be correct. So then when you give them the information, we could show them any source material, we could show them any analysis. One of the things we talk about for when people go, racism is this, and this, and we bring up the ASA. Shout out to you, the ASA, right? And say, hey, uh, the American Sociological Association has outright said that racism is systemic. Like that's what it is.
that's what they
And
say. Yeah,
and we can have a thing of like, hey, you can look at their paper, you can look at their
that's what
analysis.
we say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ah, true. Hey, all right, all right.
Yeah,
But you can look at their analysis, you can look at their paper, you can look at anything you want to look at. But they're qualified to make that assessment and they have information behind it to back it up. So, but if you're stuck on of course that's not true, then you have to say things like, well, the ASA is left leaning. Name someone in the ASA. But go ahead.
super solid. No,
Hey,
but
the
here's the thing. So I am now a card carrying member of the ASA. But the way it works is you have a kind of a administrative body, like a governing body.
Mhm.
Like there's a chair, or there's like what's it called when you have a chair panel, chair people,
A board.
a board. There's a board, so you you can't just get no riffraff off. You know that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, nobody could name any of the board members.
But I bet you they came up with CRT though. No, of course not. They didn't do that. But you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a grasp at straws to say this disagrees with me, so it has to be fake,
It has to be wrong.
right? Like
Right.
this right here disagrees with me. I don't think that wood is flammable. Well, here comes some fire and some wood. Look at it catch on fire. That's a magic trick. You're tricking me. That's what it is. Like straight up.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway here is, I know we only touched on modal talk for a little bit, but it's just because there's not a ton to be said. But when engaging with the old faithful, right?
Yeah.
The people that engage with it are coming from a place of just starting with the conclusion and swinging away at everything that disagrees with them, not analyzing it, not engaging with it at all.
Literally water boxing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so for us, and it's not that they're unintelligent, and even though in a lot of cases it's more that they have this connection to this unsubstantiated conclusion and an aversion to wanting to do any analysis for it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. There's just the pool of opposition is stuck in their conclusion and will absolutely never be able to reach because they don't have the tools. They don't have
Yeah.
the building blocks necessary to actually do any analysis in the first place. All they know is that I saw black people on TV, you know. I heard a Gucci Mane album or some shit, you know what I mean? Or some right-wing influencer told me that this is how black people are, right? They don't actually have the foundation. That's why when they come up and I'll say something like, well, what makes you think that blah, 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 blah? And I'll say, what makes you think black people can't be racist? And I'll say, racial stratification. What is that? Would explain. You want me to explain this? You came here to debate me on this, and you
Mhm.
want me to now explain what we're debating?
I brought my my Trapper Keeper
Yeah.
and my Lisa Frank notebook, and I'm ready to take notes.
Yeah. Like, well, that's it. Go to a class. Go to a class for that. I literally have a class on the Patreon. Go watch the class. Pay the $5, become a subscriber. Go watch the class. But don't try
Absolutely.
to, yeah. Like, in what atmosphere do you walk in to and be like, no, the hypotenuse is not the long wait, what is the hypotenuse? The longest side of the triangle? Is that what the hypotenuse
Who
is?
knows?
I
Who
don't know
knows?
what the fucking hypotenuse is,
Yeah,
but I do
it's
know one thing, this teacher is wrong about what the hypotenuse is. That's what I know. Why? Because he's black. That's what
I think, yo, you know what? Let's end it there. That says it all. You wrong because you black.
That's it. That's it, bro. That's it.
We'll see y'all next time for some more End of a Species. Thanks for hanging out with us. Subscribe, share, like, do all them things that you do. And yeah, enjoy.